Hello teacher, my name is Daniela Posadas and this is my video on paradigms. Now here we're going to start with the knowledge-centered paradigm. Sorry, I'm going to put myself here. Yeah, much better. Okay, here we have two points of view and the first view is the scientific one. And this suggests that knowledge is hard, real, and capable of being transmitted in tangible form. The second view sees knowledge as being of a softer, more subjective, spiritual, or even transcendental kind, based on experience and insight of a unique and essentially personal nature. So one is the one you can see, and the other is everything subjectively. Now, we have the positivism, and here is the view that all true knowledge is scientific and that I can only be advanced by means of observation and experiment. It also underlines the scientific method. Now here we have the determinism, and this is the belief that all events have causes, and through observation and experiment, they can be uncovered and explained. Now, and applying science or technical rational model of curriculum is as the scientific research findings are applied to solving technical problems. A positivist theory of thinking and learning is behaviorism. Now, the behaviorist psychologists focus on the observable behavior of their subjects and attempt to relate these behaviors to all of the environmental factors, the context where they're in, and everything. Learning is seen as a process of conditioning or habit formation through the production of correct responses to stimuli. Now, here we have the person-centered paradigm. This is recalled by Cohen and Mannion in 1985. They say that is where the immense complexity of human nature and the elusive and intangible quality of social phenomena contrast strikingly with the order and regularity of the natural world. This point is no more apparent than in the context of classroom and school. Now, accordingly, behaviorist teaching methods have been criticized on a number of grounds. This was mentioned by Williams and Burden in 1997. They say that first, the role of the learners is a fairly passive one. They are merely directed to respond correctly to stimuli. There is a little active engagement in analyzing the language or developing their own strategies to learn more effectively, or initiation discussions or negotiation meetings. Second, there is little concern for what goes on inside the learner's heads or the cognitive processes involved in learning something. So here is not much. The teacher does not know exactly what is going on with the student. Now, the paradigm person-centered has developed to counteract the scientific knowledge-centered. The person-centered paradigm accommodates a number of beliefs, the one common thread being the rejection of the view that human behavior is governed eternally by general laws. So the anti-positivist view is represented by phenomenology. The phenomenologists seek to understand social behavior by understanding the values, the beliefs, motivation, and perception of the participants. Now, Roberts in 1998 summarized the main tenets of the phenomenological view. So here we have the 4 points. It's that it represents a picture of persons as self-determining because their own representation of the world guide their actions. It tries to understand behavior by understanding the perception of the person. Now, 3, it recognizes the unique configuration of factors that provides the real-life context for us to think and learn. And 4, it accepts that people act in settings that are variable and unpredictable. We have also the cognitivism. The cognitive psychology is concerned with the way in which the human mind thinks and learns. Cognitive psychologists are therefore interested in the mental processes that are involved. This includes such such aspects as how people build up and draw upon their memories and the ways of which they become involved in the process of learning. So here, the cognitivism credits learners with employing conscious strategies and hypothesis formation and testing. Now everybody's working much more with humanist style now of learning. So this is very interesting. Okay, this emerged in 1969 and in the 70s to counter the determinism of the behaviorist and psychoanalytical schools of psychology. The influence of humanist psychologists such as Rogers, Maslow had a profound effect on educational philosophy. Dubin and Olstein in 1986 mentioned and described that, in concrete terms, the humanist curriculum puts high value on people accepting responsibility for their own learning, making decisions for themselves, choosing and initiating activities, expressing feelings and opinions about needs, abilities, and preferences. In this framework, the teacher acts as a facilitator of others' learning rather than just an implanter of knowledge. Humanists take a whole person view or holistic view, recognizing the influence of emotional or affective factors as well as intellectual ones. Cognitivism and humanism have contributed to the concept of learner-centeredness. Rogers proposed a shift of focus in education from teaching to learning and from teacher to facilitating. Roger holds that experiential learning has to be self-initiated, self-motivated. Only the learner can evaluate whether the teaching is personally illuminating and meaningful. The job the facilitator is not to decide what the students should learn, but to identify and create the crucial ingredients of the psychological climate that helps to free learners to learn and to grow. This was mentioned by Underhill in 1989. So here we have that the humanistic style attempts to humanize learning. So here we have the paradigm, the knowledge centered and the person centered. And here the humanistic paradigm has an internal perspective, behavior itself determined. It's focused on personal knowing. So the view is the person with self-agency. The teacher is just a facilitator and it's a natural process instead of an intellectual process, because here you acquire the learnings, you acquire the knowledge instead of just learning it, and it's a process focused this view of curriculum. The perennial tension that Noonan in 1998 described is language teaching is between those who subscribe to a subject-centered view and those who subscribe to a learning-centered view of language and language learning. The rationalist position sees language learning as an intellectual exercise involving a person's capacity to reason and to consciously apply rules. Bravo in 1986 had a belief which was that the development of competence in a second language requires not systematization of language inputs or maximization of planned practice, but rather the creation of conditions in which learners engage in an effort to cope with communication. Bravo rejects syllabuses of pre-selected grammar items and control language practice activities such as drills, and claims that language acquisition should develop simply through the experience of communicating. So this is very, very important because you are just not doing items and answering those items. You are learning through a really much more meaningful and uh, drills, with the drills and the experiences that you are taking. Now, the transmission versus interpretation. Barnes in 1976 identified two basic polarities in terms of teacher types and distinguished between what he called transmission teachers and interpretation teachers. Now, the transmission teachers believe that there are distinctive disciplines such as science and foreign language. There are very distinct boundaries between these disciplines. The disciplines have content or things to learn. There are appropriate standards of performance in each discipline. Learners' performance can be evaluated according to the standards done by the discipline, and the teacher's main task is to evaluate and correct learners' performances. The interpretation teachers believe that knowledge is the ability to organize, uh, though to interpret facts and to act on them. Learners are intrinsically interested and naturally inclined to explore their works. The teacher main task is to set up dialogues in which learners reorganize their existing state of knowledge. Learners already know a great deal and also have the ability to extend and refashion that knowledge. So this is very interesting. I think is what most teachers achieve to be interpretational teachers. So here we have the syllabuses. Here we have type A and type B. So curriculum embodied three different viewpoints or sets of beliefs. The beliefs about the nature of language, the beliefs about the nature of language learning, and beliefs about education. We can classify curriculum beliefs into those that are consistent with the knowledge-centered paradigm. There are two types of syllabuses that White in 1988 said that these two types can be summarized in terms of the distinction between an interventionist approach, which gives priority to the pre-specification of linguistic or other content or skill objectives on the other hand, and the non-interventionist, experiential nature growth approach on the other. I'm so sorry, I feel weird. Sorry. Okay, in the type A syllabus, here the language acquisition does not simply happen. It is systematically crafted. A typical type A syllabus is a list of pre-selected items, and the items are in prearranged order. The type of items may vary from syllabus to syllabus. They may be grammatical structures like present simple and past continuous. They represent ways of dividing up the language into what are called discrete items. That is, small units that can form the focus of instruction and testing. The Type B programs respect natural and learner-driven processes. These syllabuses are focused less on what of teaching than the how. What am I going to teach? Not how. The Type B syllabus is organized around a set of tasks. There may be no language syllabus at all as such. Type B syllabuses are not ready syllabuses at all, since they do not so much specify the content of instructions as a means of instructions, and therefore they are more akin to statements of methodology than to specifications of content. Noonan in 1988 points out the distinction between syllabus and methodology is not necessarily a clear-cut one. The narrow view draws a clear distinction between syllabus design and methodology. Syllabus design is seen as being concerned essentially with one selection and grading of content, while methodology is concerned with the selection of learning tasks and activities. Those who adopt a broader view question this strict separation, arguing that with the advent of communicative language teaching, the distinction between content and tasks is difficult to sustain. Thank you very much, teacher. I hope you liked the video and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.